Hi, how are you doing today? I hope that you are doing well. I hope you are feeling good. I hope you are feeling your best. Today I'm creating an intersectional piece of media because anyone who is undergoing energetic interference, whether it is spell work gone awry, demonic influence, or, as I've stated in the title of the video, if it's related to gangstalking, any of these things have the potential to cause you stress. And one of the best ways to fight off that energetic influence is by listening to ASMR. Videos. Now you might notice that I am somewhere. It's quite noisy. I would like to roll up the windows of my car, but it makes it very hot in here. So we're all going to be getting through this together. This is where I bit this book, because the things that I write in this book make me very upset. This is where I document a lot of the things that have been going on to the best of my ability and in the way that I can best describe them, given my context and perceptions at the time. You can see the teeth marks here, and you can see them here. Let's see, go all the way to, this is an address book, so I can use the letters as a way of keeping track of where I am in the book. Again, I do apologize for the external sound pollution. It is the nature of the life that I have been living currently. So, firstly, I'd like to talk about the zone of influence. The zone of influence is how I describe the energetic field around a targeted individual, which affects not only the target, but those who interact with the target. Some people are going to be much more susceptible to this zone of influence. So, what factors exacerbate that? The first one is if that person has a lack of focus or they're focusing on the wrong things. This can also include things like ADHD. So there's a lot of intersectionality between mental illness and how energetic influence can affect your life and the lives of people around you. When a person is unable to focus, or if this person is focused on the goals of the gangstalking, they will be much more susceptible to this influence. A lack of focus, they're going to be easily misdirected. But with improper focus, they're going to be more dangerous to the target because this person will be influenced in a much more directed, specific, and goal-oriented way, and it's going to be against the targeted individual. Factor number 2 is contact level. So there's a few different kinds of contact. There's emotional contact. So the depth of your friendship or relationship is not as potent as other forms of contact. There's financial or gift type contact. So there's an exchange of physical goods. This creates a pathway of energetic exchange between the target and the people with whom they take part in that exchange. This is especially effective for keeping the target unemployed and materially disadvantaged, as it will potentially sour these partnerships. And then, of course, we have physical intimacy. This creates a very potent bond between the target and their partner or partners. Unless the partner believes and fully understands the target's situation and is able to mitigate the energetic influence, the relationship will eventually fall apart and has the potential to destroy the partner's life as well. On the opposite side of this, if the targeted individual is unaware of the gangstalking, but the partner is able to perceive the influence, this also has high potential to drive the couple apart. And then there's all of the casual interactions that you have with people throughout your day. All these other factors interfere with social interactions. Depending on how generally likable the target is, and depending on how each person who interacts with them would have perceived them anyway. Obvious factors are race and other ethnic indicators, but gender presentation can also exacerbate this in a variety of ways. So there can be perceived attraction, where targets can be forced into or deprived of sexually charged situations. Targets may be subjected to overt sexual harassment or may have experiences where someone who would otherwise be sexually attracted to them is very dismissive. This also relates to the level of care sexual partners and potential sexual partners show towards the target. The target may receive messaging regarding potential sexual partners which is false or misleading. Cognitive behavioral therapy for psychosis exercises should be used to combat this false messaging. Basically, just write all of it out. Write all of it out in as much detail as you possibly can, and then look at why those things are or are not true. We watch a lot of media that is sensationalized in our modern existences, and that storytelling exists outside the realm of what most people actually do or experience, and you have to be mindful of that and keep that in the back of your head. Most people are not out creating drama on purpose, but some of them are. The behavior of those surrounding the target is likely to be perceived as hostile and generally not good. This is an intentional campaign to alienate the targeted individual. Some targets experience messaging about sex, which would fall into the category of intrusive thoughts. So if you're in a sexual situation, all of a sudden you start having thoughts about family members, children, or abuse. And this is used to control the sex drive of the target and their sexual interactions with others. Some targets experience unwanted and without external stimulation sexual arousal. Some targets experience physical discomfort when attempting to engage in sexual activity. Or you may also have issues with your reproductive systems. We'll get into that in a little bit. All these methods are only one part of gangstalking as a whole. Not all targets experience all symptoms of gangstalking. So there are a lot of physical and tangible things that I'm not going to go into in this video, like car problems, issues getting your mail delivered, people following you around. We're not going to talk about it today, but I might talk about it in other videos. The mechanisms by which this occurs are not totally clear. So the important thing is to focus on resolving the issues for yourself and not to focus on how exactly it's being done. But there are a couple of schools of thought that I'm going to mention here. There's technology. So there is some evidence that does support the use of electronic equipment to create disruptions in brainwaves and physical constitution. And in fact, there has been a court case recently related to the Havana syndrome. So that's a step in the right direction as far as getting credibility lent to that. And as far as combating that, they are saying that if they find out who did it and how, they will be facing hefty jail time. But, you know, you can't really count on that. You can't count on the systems of oppression to save you from oppression. There's also demonic influence. So I'm using the words demonic influence, but those are words that have been used for millennia to describe this kind of energetic interference to other people's behavior. Whether or not you believe demons exist, evidence suggests that something along these lines has occurred, something which is beyond medical or scientific explanation. If you suspect demonic influence and begin a focused regimen of prayer and religious devotion, the condition might improve. So it's worth trying. And again, like I said, demon is a very general term, which has been used to describe this type of negative spiritual interference. So now I'm going to talk about generalized inflammation and non-specific health issues. Due to energetic bombardment, targets may experience a range of physical symptoms related to long-term inflammation. So this would be like fibromyalgia, allergies, autoimmune disorders, brain fog, altitude sickness, chronic fatigue, brain inflammation, schizophrenia, psychosis or delusions, arthritis, physical pain, sexual dysfunction, even something like lichen sclerosis, which affects the genitals, Stomach problems, digestive issues, even things like diabetes and cancer can be affected by this energetic bombardment causing physical inflammation. These symptoms may need to be treated using medical intervention, even though they are caused by energetic interference. So symptoms of environmental interference, things that you might notice out and about that would be related specifically to energetic interference and not these physical and tangible things like people following you around, although sometimes those things are affected by this energetic interference. So there's a lot of intersectionality, but these are some of the more subtle things that you might not think about otherwise. People wetting themselves, vomiting, or losing control of bodily function in the presence of the targeted individual. Lack of credibility on the part of the targeted individual. Ritual abuse perceived by the targeted individual occurring immediately out of sight. Bodily functions or filth left where the targeted individual is forced to encounter them. People being mean to you for no reason. There might be a perceived tone shift. So people who are usually very nice are mean to the targeted individual, or you'll have a totally normal conversation going on and then all of a sudden there's like a change that comes over their demeanor and it kind of like become kind of nasty and cruel. If you are being gang stalked, a lot of these behaviors are much more obvious if you're not living in a place like Southern California. So, of course, being in LA, a lot of people would be like that anyway. And there's a lot of intersectionality there as well, because of course California is a huge hotspot for gang stalking and this kind of energetic targeting and interference. Many people end up homeless as a result of gang stalking. Many unhoused people ended up that way because they are being targeted. So try to be more compassionate to people who are going through it, obviously. Previous generations had internment and concentration camps. We do still have those. We do. But the CIA projects of the 20th century have created this evolution of technique. And so now gang stalking is often being used instead of outright internment in camps. So be mindful of that also, that you're witnessing firsthand the atrocities that otherwise would be occurring in a concentration camp. And they've shifted it so that they don't have to create the mechanisms of that destruction. People are being gang stalked for different reasons and by different entities, but two of the big ones are, of course, the government and also the entertainment industry. And I would say that the entertainment industry is a much bigger threat to most people than the government, because they are much more ruthless. And I wouldn't say they're better organized, but they do have goals that are much more sinister, I think, than the government. And so there you have it. That's my video for today. I greatly appreciate all of your support. It really means a lot to me, those of you who have continued to support this channel, especially in the face of everything that has transpired. And all those weird noises, that's the lens adjusting on my camera, so I apologize for that. But I did want the mic to be hot enough for ASMR. I love all of you so much, each and every one of you. Thank you so much for your support. And until the next time, never fear the pale threshold.